So, Kate, are there any people who've contacted you with regards to Citizen Speak as we begin the meeting this evening?
I have not received any emails, but if there is someone now attending who would like to make a public comment, now would be the time to raise your hand or to let us know. I think we're good, John.
Great. Well, seeing none, before we begin the first item of business this evening, as the Board of Selectmen, it is unfortunate that we share with you the news, and I know many of you have heard this, of the passing of Scott Wainwright. Scott was a member of our staff, a valued member of our staff, and it's always a very, very unfortunate circumstance under which we have to extend our condolences to family and friends on the behalf of the board and the town of Dover at the passing of a valued employee. Scott was a member of our staff in the townhouse. He will certainly be missed. He was a person who approached every day with optimism, a great attitude, and a friend to everyone here in the townhouse. Bob, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I would just echo your comments, John. I mean, clearly a very, very sad and tragic thing. And I hope the family can pull together and get through this time. It's just a sad event. We'll all miss him. Thanks.
Thank you. We would just ask you to remember Scott, his family, keep him in your thoughts and prayers this weekend. Tomorrow's Good Friday, Passover, and then Easter Sunday. So it's a time of reflection for all of us. So we'd just like you all to remember Scott. So thank you. We're going to move to our first order of business this evening, which is a public hearing on the application of the transfer of liquor license from RWJ Beverage, DBA Dover Wine Company, to Swami Seinan. I hope I pronounced that correct. Kate, how did I do on that? As a matter of the board, we want to conduct this open hearing and hear from the applicants, have the applicants introduce themselves to the town, and we will then read through the summary of which the application for license has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. I would like to, at this point in time, I believe the attorneys for the corporation are with us this evening. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Board. So my name is Matthew Porter. I'm the attorney for Swami Nason Corporation. Along with me tonight is Krishana Patel. Ms. Patel is the president of that corporation, is also the proposed license manager. So with that, if the board would like me to just give a summary of what's before them today, and then Ms. Patel and I can answer any questions that you all may have. That'd be great. Thank you. Excellent. So before the board, this is the transfer of an existing license. This is the sale of Dover Wine Company at 16 Springdale Ave. The proposed new licensee is Swami Nason Corporation. As I said, along with us tonight is Ms. Patel. Krishana Patel is the sole shareholder, president, treasurer, secretary, director of that corporation. She would also be the proposed license manager, meaning that she would be the on-site person responsible for overseeing that store. Ms. Patel has several years of liquor license experience. Her family has been in this industry for 30 years or so. Most recently, she has been helping run Curtis Liquors since 2018, which is a pretty large-scale store down in Weymouth. They've had no violations there whatsoever. She's alcohol tip certified. Certainly all their employees would be required to be alcohol tip certified. So very experienced ownership group coming in. It's been a very smooth transaction with the sellers. Mike Reardon was hoping to be with us today on behalf of the seller. It's his daughter's birthday, so he's unable to make it tonight. But certainly Mike has been very helpful. I think it should be a very smooth transition beyond just Ms. Patel adding as a manager. They're looking to continue to keep the staff there. So there's no changes in the operation of the business, no changes in the hours, no change in the structure of the business whatsoever. So I think it should be a very smooth transition. They have their lease in place from the landlord, so that aspect of it is all set. The only thing in addition to the transfer tonight that we would be asking for the board to grant would be a pledge of that liquor license. I'm not sure whether the board has seen a pledge before, but essentially Rockland Trust is helping to finance this purchase today. And so as a result of that, the bank asks for a pledge of the liquor license as well, which essentially just secures the promissory note of the bank against the license. And so certainly if you want me to dive more into that explanation, I can. But with that, I think that's probably a pretty good summary. And I could certainly open it up for questions.
Matt, thank you for that. I'm going to ask you to hold the next part of that, and I'm going to defer to Nina Pickering-Cook, our town council. Nina, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yes, thank you, John. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Well,
I have not seen a pledge to a financial institution or a mortgage holder or lender before. What specifically do you need from the board on that front? Is it just language to be included in the vote?
Yeah, that's entirely right. So the only thing needed by the board is when it goes to a vote, the board would essentially vote to approve the transfer of the license and then a pledge of the license it would be pledge of license and inventory to Rockland Trust Company.
Okay.
Be here today. Yep.
Okay.
Nina, do you have an issue with that? Is
None at all.
No? Okay.
No, but it's just a process. I mean, it makes sense. It is envisioned by the law. It's just not something I have seen myself before. So I didn't know if there was any particular documentation, for instance, with the financial institution that they want to see from the selectmen, or if it is just a vote.
Yeah, it would just be a vote, and then in the application itself, you'll see the promissory note. This is more for ABCC purposes, but you would see the promissory note and a draft pledge in that agreement. And just so the board has more of a comfort level, this does not mean that the bank could just take over that liquor license. If, God forbid, there was ever a default, and we don't anticipate that, the bank would still have to find a purchaser for that license. That licensee would then go back before the board and obviously need to be approved by the board as well. So it's not as though it's ceding any sort of board approval whatsoever. It would have to go back before you guys.
That's as a typical transfer.
Correct. Yep.
All right. That's very helpful, Matt. Thank you.
Sure.
And Nina, you're good with that in terms of just the process of it. Great. So Ms. Patel, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So speaking on behalf of only the Jeffries family and myself personally, we love the Dover Wine Shop. Absolutely.
That's good to hear.
Yes. Bob can speak for himself, but I won't throw him under the bus. I frequent, and my family frequents, the Dover Wine Shop, as it's the only wine shop in Dover. So we love Willie. We love your staff. Willie's a great young man. Have you met the staff?
Some of them, yes. Some of them, not all of them yet. Yes.
Okay. So
They do seem like a good group though, and they all plan on still staying there, so it will be nice.
that's
Like
good.
Matt said, an easy transfer. So
That's great. So that we would encourage you to meet with our land planning director. Have you met Courtney Starling?
I'm not familiar. I don't think so.
So Courtney Starling is our land use director. She is recently, the Board of Selectmen had hired through her and through the planning board, has hired a consultant to do a survey of the village center, of which there are a few shops, and that survey has recently been reported to the Board of Selectmen, to the planning board, through Courtney, and it's got a lot of very deep background for what the town specifically is looking for and looking towards as we are deciding and trying to visualize what use the town best wants for its village center. The survey is out. The survey is available through Courtney, and what we would really like you to do is to meet with Courtney and get an understanding of what the sense and scope is of the town center. We didn't want to make that an issue this evening in upholding the transfer. You know, we have started this process a while back. You know, we don't expect you to be delayed by the process. We've in consultation with Nina in her office, there's nothing in your background, there's nothing in your licensing that would lead us to want to in any way delay this. But we'd really like you to, we would really encourage you to sort of get a sense for what the town of Dover is all about, what the planning and what licensing allows various merchants to do in terms of advertising and signage. That's a very important part of the character of the town. So we just wanted to speak to that. And as I said, we don't want to in any way hold up the process for you, but we would just like you to familiarize yourself with the people in the town. So, Bob,
No,
would you
that
like?
is understood. I understand. Yeah, totally understand. Like Matt said, we don't want to be changing much. We want it to be a smooth transition and want to be very respectful with everything around us. So
Terrific. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. As I said, my family loves the Dover wine.
well, I hope to see you there someday.
Oh, you will. Bob, anything to add? You're muted. You're muted.
You know, I am never muted. I mean, I'm just surprised that you didn't hear me through that. No, I would just like you to sort of add to what Matt Porter was talking about and give us a little bit more sense of your background and your interests and how you anticipate running the store in Dover.
So like Matt said, my family has been in this business for quite a while. And I did do a drastic change in taking over a lot more responsibilities back in 2018 to eventually go into my own place, which this Dover Wine Company will be. And also, like Matt said, we are with any other properties. I have ownership interest in other properties across the state as well. But with this project, we know that, just like Matt said, we want everything to be a simple transition. We love keeping our staff wherever we go because they know it more than I will. And I will be learning a lot more from them as I can teach them anyway. So, and with regards to meeting Courtney, I think that is a really good idea because I wouldn't want to change anything with the Village Square. And I understand everything with the signage and everything. I think that'll be great to learn from there as well. And I do live very close by, so I've seen the area time and time again. So I think that it'll be a great transition, and I think it'll be interesting to see and meet you guys, since I'm glad to hear that you guys are good customers of the place. I know it's a really good town-oriented place, a lot of loyal customers. I'm hoping to keep that going as we transfer.
Yeah, unlike John, wine has never passed my lips. Alcohol on the other. Well, whatever, I think that John's suggestion about talking to Courtney is terrific. I think the more you can find out about the community and get a sense of how it works would be very helpful to you and would help smooth the transition.
Oh, definitely agree.
My understanding is that the certification documentation and all that rigmarole has been done to everyone's satisfaction. And so that's terrific. So I will not precipitously, but I will welcome you to Dover and hope that we can have a productive and tasteful working relationship.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Tasteful. I like that, Bob. Does that mean taste testing or?
I was about to say the same.
Yeah.
So, Nina, if this is okay, I just want to read one other part of the summary that we really didn't cover. Well, we covered, but I just want to make sure that for those watching on Zoom or those watching the recording that we make sure that the legal and the notice part is covered. So a legal notice of the public hearing was published in Town Home Weekly on March 31st, 2022, and was mailed to all abutters, of which I am one. I can certify that it was received. All required documents and filing fees have been approved. Both the applicant, Ms. Patel, and the company, Swami Naysang Corporation. I hope I got that right.
No, it's perfectly good, yeah.
And her attorney, Matt Porter, attorneys in law are present to address the transfer of the liquor license. Mike Reedon, as Scott mentioned, was not able to be with us this evening. So without any further ado, and Nina, if this is okay with you, would you add in, I'm going to read the motion, and if you want to add in the pledge of at where it's appropriate, I'd be happy to do that. But the motion is, go ahead, Nina.
No, I was just saying I will. I'll add it. I looked over the motion language before, and I have a sentence that I'll just add on the end.
Okay, perfect. So I move to approve the application for transfer of the liquor license from all alcoholic beverages packaged goods stores currently held by RWJ Beverage, Massachusetts, LLC, DBA Dover Wine Company, 16 Springdale Ave, Dover, Massachusetts, 02030 to Swami Naysang Corporation. Nina?
And further, move
And
to
further.
approve the pledge of license and inventory to Rockland Trust Company.
Would you like me to repeat that, or I think that's fine. Mona, did you get that?
I got it, John.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mona.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? I, John Jeffries.
Hi, Bob Springett.
So moved. So, Ms.
Thanks,
Patel, we're looking forward to seeing you very soon. When will be the date? Excuse me.
Well, it's off to the ABCC now upon approval.
Yeah.
So the state, I mean, it varies greatly, but my best estimate would be probably 4 to 6 weeks. So I think the goal of everybody in the transaction was to try to get in there before Memorial Day, which hopefully we'll be able to do. So hopefully sometime mid-May is the hope.
That's great.
Yep. And then certainly, if I could just ask the board, through your office, if you could just pass along Courtney's information, we'd certainly love to get out in front of that before we even have state approval. If we can start having those conversations as well. So.
That's great. Kate, is that something you can do for Scott? I'm sorry, for Matt?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Nina,
Bye, all. Thank you. Good to see you.
it's great to see you. Thank you very
Nina.
much for doing this.
I will see you soon.
Yes.
We're going to move to item number 2, preambulation of town boundaries, discussion and a vote. So, Kevin, you'll be very happy to know that I sent Bob Springett a note, and he said that I expected him to know what preambulation was, and that to give a short definition of it. I'm kidding on that. I don't expect either of you to do that, but
I
did.
only have the Latin version, John, so I'm not going to read it.
I had the Latin version in 6th grade, so I'm old enough to know that. So, Kevin, we did go over this with Chris. We understand that you are here. Kevin McCabe, our Public Works Director, is here to discuss preambulation, which is essentially the town boundaries, which is the process of locating, markings, and reporting the boundaries per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 42. We are happy to have Kevin with us this evening. Kevin, if you want to just give us a quick 30 seconds over this. We know it's a very standard item that we do on a yearly basis. So, Kevin McCabe.
Great. Good evening, John and Bob as well. Basically, this is a task that's supposed to be performed every 5 years, where basically 2 of the selectmen would, or through their designee, would walk and basically preambulate to identify the town boundaries and or which ones are remaining. Based on records that Felicia found, the last time this was done was the year 2000 for the town of Dover. So basically what I'm seeking tonight would be through the town administrator, a vote designating or authorizing through the town administrator, the Department of Public Works, indefinitely or in perpetuity, however you would like to word that, to locate and mark the town boundaries and record such and provide the copies and records to contiguous towns and cities according to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 2.
That sounds perfect. And Kevin, the only thing I'll add is this item is really in keeping with the Board of Selectmen's past 4 or 5 years to recognize items that were placed in the hands of boards and to get them in the hands of our hired professionals. So this is essentially an item in keeping with items that this board, for the past many years, has really made priorities of taking things that, like Kevin just explained, are annual items, as Felicia points out, that haven't been done in a very long time, and getting them on the agenda of our staff, our professional staff, on an annual basis. Bob, anything to add?
When I read the background material, the word indefinitely kind of struck a chord, and I'm not sure. Kevin, do you know why indefinitely is substituted in the discussion? Is it just to make sure that this happens?
Yeah. So through the chair, every 5 years, this is something that would have to be done. And if it's not done by the selectmen, it has to be authorized through writing for, a town employee to conduct this. So basically putting the word indefinitely or in perpetuity would give Chris the authorization through my department to conduct this. With that said, basically I would have to perform it, put a summary together, and then that would be submitted to the selectmen for signing. And then it would go to Felicia to disseminate to the other town clerks and public officials surrounding our community.
So we would have to, this would be reviewed on a 5-year cycle.
The work would be done on a 5-year cycle, and then the summary would be submitted to the board for sign off and dissemination to the surrounding communities. So it's just the indefinite portion is so we wouldn't have to authorize a vote every 5 years.
Okay. And I took great pleasure in reading the letter from Ross Whistler back in 2000 about how this particular event takes place. So it's good that we approved that liquor license transfer earlier this evening. Interesting. And apparently, okay, so we're good. So, ready to go.
I will read the motion, and if you're good with the wording, Bob, we can move forward. I move to authorize the town administrator through the Department of Public Works indefinitely to locate and mark town boundaries, markers, record such, and provide a copy of the records to contiguous towns and cities in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 42, Section 2. And ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Bob Springett.
So,
John, it seems weird that we don't have that third vote.
I know. Although I am promised, Bob, that third vote is going to watch this. She's going to critique our performance, and we're going to know.
I don't know. I think she may be otherwise engaged if she's smart. And she's smart.
Yeah, this evening, but it's on Zoom, so it lives forever. I'm going to move to item number 3, which is transfer station mattress fee recommendation. Kevin, you're going to give us a quick presentation?
Yes. So I'm seeking tonight approval through the board to collect the sum of $15 per mattress or box spring at our transfer station facility. The reason I'm asking for this is the Dover Recycling Committee has assisted this department with receiving a grant, which offset all the costs that we would inherit for recycling mattresses. It was a 2-year grant, which recently expired last month. So in efforts to remain recycling mattresses and box springs and to not increase our operating cost, we are seeking that $15 approval. We have a contract in place, which I believe is on your consent calendar, should you approve the $15 to proceed.
Kevin, thank you. I'm going to just ask Bob to comment on this, and I want to grab Bob, will you ask Kevin the questions you had brought up to Chris? I want to run and get my notes. I will be right back. Will you just ask Kevin what you talked about with Chris?
Sure.
And grab notes. I'll be right back. I left him downstairs.
So Kevin, when I went through this in prep for the meeting, there were 2 things that I sort of raised questions about. One was the fee. When I looked at attachment A, the fees were kind of all over the place. And one of the questions I had was whether or not the fees cover our costs. I don't know what the costs are to do this. I mean, you know, I've looked at this stuff and like I said, Wellesley has a fee of $60 for Dover. I don't know what that means. Most of them are below that. Some of them are at 40. But if we're going to institute a fee for this particular service, then I would like to be a little bit more assured that what we're charging actually covers our costs. So I'd like it maybe a little bit more work to be done on that regard. And then I was a little, again, I was a little flummoxed for the word, because in the last paragraph of your memorandum, of your memo, we were talking about, you're talking about payments, and you're talking about person can pay at the Dover transfer station by way of check, cash, and online. Dave apparently has created a payment method, but I sort of was a little surprised. I would have hoped that if we were going to institute a service at the transfer station in the year 2022, that it was a cashless payment system. I mean, I can go into, I really would object to having the guys at the transfer station handling cash or checks. But I don't know what the processes have been put together. But I mean, I can go over to Blue Moon in Medfield and buy coffee and a bagel, and I just tap my credit card. You know, I keep telling John he should let me Venmo. I should be able to Venmo money from his account, but so far he's resisted to do that. So there's all sorts of new ways, you know, cashless ways of collecting and having people pay for services, and I'm just surprised by the cash check comment. So, you know, to me, I would like to know a little bit more about our costs, and I would like to know a little bit more about options that we may have to process payments so that it can be as effective and efficient as possible and not put, you know, sort of a cash collection aspect. I can see a register with, you know, giving out change on the staff at the transfer station. That was sort of my reaction to the note.
Sure. So through the chair, that recommendation was made through the Dover Recycling Committee, and the price was derived based on what the fee is through the state contract, whereas it's $10 per mattress, $150 to pick up the container. The average based on our records it was averaged about 75 mattresses per pickup, which equates to about $900. If we're asking for that fee of 15, that equates to $1,125, which actually puts us in a profit of $225. Now, granted, there are obviously, you know, fees associated with this as far as administrative costs. And, you know, with that, this will cover our costs now. I had a meeting yesterday with the Dover Recycling Committee, and holistically, I want to look at the entire operations and look at other fees, CRTs, Freon, electronics, tires, you know, our pricing on construction debris. But obviously, this was already in motion, so that, you know, that's something we're going to have to look back or look into next fiscal year and look at peel back the whole operations. In regards to the payment, cash is historically and checks have been historically dealt with there now, as we accept fees for the construction debris. And we also do the sale of the rain barrels, the compost bins. And as far as online payment, that's something Dave and I are working on now. We're engaged with our communication company. I'm sure depending on your cell phone provider, you may or may not have service at the transfer station. So, you know, that is an avenue we're pursuing. But getting us to the online payment platform has been a huge step. And, you know, certainly I haven't been a part of that. That was all, you know, Dave and the Dover Recycling Committee working on that. So, you know, I thank them for their efforts, and we're going to continue and try to make it, you know, payment easier and more accessible up there.
Kevin, how many payments come in now? Like payments for construction debris, payments, what are we taking in the form of payments currently?
So all of our rain barrels, the compost bins, the I'm forgetting another one for the recyclables, and then our construction debris.
So we're taking in cash, we're taking in checks. That's, is that typically done at your office, meaning the town garage, or is that done at the transfer station?
It's physically done at the transfer station, and then deposit receipts are given to the patrons of the recycling center there, and then deposits are made once a week.
So Bob, in terms of the cost and establishing the cost, it seems that the cost that's been established right now puts us, as Kevin said, in a $250 gain based upon the cost of removing the mattresses. Are you okay with that, or what's your concern in terms of the cost and the methods?
Well, it's just that, it's just to be sure that the costs are covered. And I don't know if we include in the cost estimates that Kevin has spoken about, that probably does not include any administrative costs that we may incur. But it sounds like it's close enough for government work. And if we're going to undertake a review of the overall set of processes and procedures at the transfer station, I mean, I think that would be okay. The only other issue that I would see, John, is that if we come back in a year and change the price, and it happens to be, jump, that might upset people.
Yeah.
So Kevin, do you have a sense that we're close?
To cover the cost?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because like I said, there should be a net profit on each pickup from the hauler. And as I alluded to earlier, I mean, could there be a rate increase next year? Absolutely, but it would be in line with several other items that we currently don't charge for.
Yeah.
As continued rates in recycling and solid waste are starting to rise, that to offset increased operating costs would be to charge for items that you typically not every resident of Dover is going to bring, and that you'd be paying for basically your neighbors to get rid of their TVs and air conditioning and all those sort of units. So,
in keeping with that thought, Kevin, which is a really good one that you bring up, I'd be in favor, and Bob, please weigh in on this. I'd be in favor of reviewing the price in 3 months, not in a year. I'd like to see a recommendation from you and the recycling committee that because we're all right now in the sort of we're in the spiral of inflation, and for lots of reasons, right? In my world, no one can give you a specific idea of whether we've reached peak inflation or not, and some economists say yes, some economists say not for another 3 months. But I'd really like to just pull the lens back and say, let's take a look at this in 3 months, and let's be proactive in terms of the pricing. And Bob, what do you think about that?
No, I think that's fine. The other thing, John, I'd like if Dave could tell us a little bit more about the payment processing, because this is all new to me. I don't bring construction things over to the recycling center. And I haven't really seen these guys collect money. And so this is all sort of surprise. So to the extent that we're aware of these things, and the extent that we can apply more effective or efficient solutions to the cash collection, check processing sort of world, that's wonderful. But I'm a novice on this. I'd like to know what we've been doing and what we think we can do. So maybe Dave, if you can give me a couple comments off the top of your head.
Sure. So I was approached by the recycling committee to add the mattresses, and upon reviewing their fees and speaking with our vendor, Unipay, which is part of Unibank, realized that we could actually put all of their items for sale onto a separate page from where we usually pay taxes, excise tax, that sort of thing. So it's a similar page that we use for that, except it's just for a transfer station. And so we spun that up, reviewed it, and then was able to publish it on the recycling committee page. So people can go in through the recycling committee page, pay for the item, whether it's a rain barrel or a mattress or a construction material, and then they can also bring a receipt or show their phone. So that's one option that gets us a little bit closer to the old way of cash or check. But one of the other things Kevin and I are both working on is trying to get some sort of communication down to the transfer station. We have calls out to through Bill Henderson to both Comcast and Verizon to see if they'll actually run a line to the transfer station. As you know better than I, where the transfer station is in town, there's no residential close by. So, you know, they're pretty much stopped running, you know, communication lines down there. So we're hoping that maybe for some reason there may be some Fios fiber that they had to string along that portion of the street, and maybe we can tap in there. But I think we'll find out what our best option is in the next coming weeks. You know, there may even be a cell booster that they could put down there, and the guys could actually have an iPhone with a card reader on it. So we don't need a full cashier setup. We just need, basically, you've seen the iPads or the iPhones with a little card reader on it, and that's what I think we're aiming for.
Okay.
So I would say, you know, by having all these items already in the vendor, already accessible online, you know, we're a good chunk of the way there. Now it's just doing the physical plant of getting actual communications to, you know, a pretty rural, you know, area that's not really, you know, like I said, near any sort of residential.
Well, no, it's in the reserve.
Right, exactly. So you know, it's kind of a isolated out
Cans
there.
with a long string, you know.
Yeah, so I mean that's the biggest challenge that we're facing from there, and you know, so you know, luckily we're in a time now where communication's key, and you know the technology is there, so I'm sure we'll be able to find a solution, whether it's cellular or actual some sort of coax or fiber.
Okay, thank you, Dave. So my question is, are we ready to go? I mean, is this sort of ready to go, or
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it really it's just one added step to the operations that have been in place for the 2+ years. So you know, to continue to maintain and you know, to be ahead of the ban on mattresses, which will take effect November 1st of 2022, where they're no longer accepted into incinerator facilities.
Right.
I'm just trying to be proactive and continue to offer the recycling of the mattresses and box springs at the recycling center.
Well, I want to thank you guys. John, I'm good on this.
Okay, good. And Kevin, I think you heard from Bob and I both that, you know, we're good with the 15, and we're good with the agreement between Dover and GM Framingham, which I know will come a little bit later in this evening. But I think you've heard, you know, from us both that take a close look at the cost, and you know, if for whatever reason you see that cost going up, I think it is the sooner, the faster you can adjust your costs, always the better.
I agree.
You know, and if for example, if it's got to go from 15 to 35, it's always better than a year from now it going from 15 to 150. So
right.
Something along those lines, right? So Bob, you're good with that. Let's I'll just move to the motion, and I move to approve the collection of a service charge disposal fee of $15 per mattress or box spring, and ask for a second.
I'm going to second that, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to hold Dave responsible for making, the next time I go to the transfer station, he's going to have that gizmo down there that I can use.
We're going to get it.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Springer. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well done, gentlemen. Bob, do you notice that Chris, Dave, and Kevin all have beards?
Yeah, but Dave's has a little bit more silver in him. Although Chris is getting the silver too.
Yeah.
Kevin is still nice and, dark.
Clean shaven look,
Yeah.
very old fashioned, very old school. So let's move to our next item of business, item number 4, which is approve and execute the May 16th, 2022 town election warrant. The May 16th, 2022 town election warrant lists the open positions of Dover's elected officials. The warrant will be mailed to the residents Friday, April 22nd, 2022. And Bob, this is pretty straightforward. This is just the voting election warrant. Any comments?
No, let's rock and roll, John.
I move to approve the May 16th, 2022 town election warrant. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye. John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Sprint.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to move. That is listed and visualized in the 38 pages. I'm just going to scroll through this to the next item, which is the appointment of Nadir Ahmad to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Item number 5. The Board of Appeals Chair, Alan Fryer, is asking the board to appoint Nadir Ahmad to the Board of Appeals as an associate member to fill the unexpired term of Ham Hackney, which expires on June 30, 2022. So, as many of you know, Ham Hackney, very long time Dover residents, with his wife Sue, the kids. They have been just a absolute treasure to the town. Ham has put in lots and lots of hours in many capacities to the town, and from what I have been told, that Mr. Ahmad is a gentleman who works with Ham, not only lives in town but works with him. So we are really fortunate to have, and we just as a citizen, and Bob, please weigh in on this, but somebody who's volunteered, we really want to thank Ham for all of his years of service, his hours of dedication. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a heavy lift. There's a lot that goes into it. It is detail, and it's something that the town really needs. And quality people are just so important to these boards, and we just want to thank Ham for his years of service. Bob, anything you'd like to add?
No, I know he's been on the board for quite a number of years. I worked with his wife on the school committee, on the Chickering School Committee back in the day.
Yeah.
So you have two people who were deeply involved in the community, and it's always a loss when you lose somebody like that. But I'm very pleased with with Nadir Ahmed's willingness to step up and take on that role. So I agree with you. It's a heavy lift. It requires a great amount of concentration and effort and time. These get to be thorny issues, and it's a thorny time. So it's I thank him as well for stepping up. But Ham has been with us for quite a while. Thank you, Ham.
Thanks, Bob. So the motion, I move to approve the appointment of Nadir Ahmad to the Board of Appeals as an associate member to fill the unexpired term of Hamilton Hackney, which expires June 30, 2022. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Sprint.
Again, Ham, thank you. I hope when you are watching this, you really understand and appreciate how much the Board of Selectmen in the town has really appreciated and valued your service. And to Nadir, welcome aboard. We're looking forward to having you.
Second.
We are going to move to our next item of business, and that is the Webb Cemeteries update and presentation. And as Bob said earlier in our remarks at the very beginning, I'm looking forward to this. This is a presentation from Dave Sullivan. Dave?
Excellent. I'm just going to share my screen here one moment. And the presentation up. There we go. All right, so thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to present today the Web Cemetery software and let you know that it has gone live and it is on our website, and people are using it, and Rusty's using it as well in the back end. So we're pretty pleased, and we're happy, and speaking with the Cemetery Commission as well, it's really something that was needed, and it's about time it's here. So I'm glad that we have moved forward with this. But I'm going to give an overview of the process and why we went with Web Cemeteries, and where we can go with it in the future. So for the background, if you remember, we had a very old system. It was pretty much obsolete, about 20 years old, based off FoxPro. I don't know if you remember old FoxPro databases. I mean, they predate Access, and they're rock solid, but very old, and there's no way that we can keep something that old and keep it up forever. One of the other pieces also is it was just a pure back-end system. It was on one PC, and there was no way for citizens to access loved ones in a portal of any type. Rusty would be getting calls for him to go and print out the locations and basically draw on a map where people are. And finally, being such an old software system, there was a backup. However, it was a manual backup that you had to put on a thumb drive. So now we actually have a system that is stored in the cloud with nightly backups and security and safety. So it's stored in multiple locations, and it's a lot safer than one PC and a thumb drive. For the process to date, if you recall, we reviewed 3 different companies, and we chose Web Cemeteries and came before the board with our choice. And why we chose Web Cemeteries was all the cemetery software companies pretty much offered the same thing. A robust back end where you can process everything, and a front end portal for people to find loved ones. What really just, led us to choose Web Cemeteries was the training aspect of it and their support. So Rusty and I, as I'll get into later, have been doing a ton of training. We've trained Janine, as well as Felicia has been trained on this software. And it's a great support where you can call up and basically speak to the person who's trained you during business hours. So you really have that feeling of being supported, and you're not just talking to a call center where somebody barely knows the software. It's the same trainer who's trained you. So that's really appreciative and gives Rusty and myself a really good feeling and comfort. So the first thing we did was map and migrate the data from the legacy software. And we mapped it over into the new Web Cemeteries database. Rusty and I reviewed the data. We made sure that it was massaged a little bit. Going from a 20-year-old database to a modern database, there were definitely some issues. There are things missing that the new database has, such as something as well as prefix and suffix in names. One of the best examples I can think of is Governor Sargent. In the old system, his last name was Sergeant Governor, and that's how you could find him. In the new system, you're able to actually put in the honorific. Next was we took all our maps, and we did not have any of these as a layer. And then actually the county did have a few that were layers in GIS, actually I think through AutoCAD, but we also took our paper maps because the county didn't have all of the cemetery in digitized. So we digitized and geocoded the paper maps with Web Cemeteries and reviewed that, found some discrepancies, and were able to link the data and the maps and further review that. So there were a lot of these steps where we would get the data in there, review it, come back with some edits. Next, the maps, review the maps, come back with some edits. And then the final piece, which was linking the two together, we were able to make a few more edits then. We reviewed, like I said, all the data in the back end, and then started reviewing the customer facing portal to make sure that it was showing where people were supposed to be. And then we embarked on training. So once, sometimes twice a week, Rusty and I would get into the Selectmen's conference room, sit down and do some training with web cemeteries and really familiarize ourselves with the system. So as I've said before, it's two main pieces. This is a picture of the back end. The back end's where Rusty would do all his work, and he manages all aspects of the cemetery, from sales to burials to work orders to memorials. It's basically a all-encompassing piece of software for Rusty to do everything. There are some pieces that we're going to roll out more slowly, but the main thrust of it, the burials and the being able to put in the sales as well, is already in the system, and that's what we're really focusing on. And then, really, I think the best piece of this, oops, sorry, went too far. The best piece of this is the citizens portal. So this is where citizens can go and search for a loved one. You can search by name, and then there's also an interactive map, so you can go and click actually on different plots and see who is actually in there. There is a free online memorial site that also comes with the system, where family members can put in obituaries, military information on a loved one, and a picture as well. Meeting with the cemetery commission, we're going to ask that only pictures of the deceased and only the obituary and military records be posted. So to make sure that there is no issues with family members or anything like that. So the cemetery commission will also be, actually the cemetery chair will be the one who approves these submissions as well. So when you put in a submission, there's an automatic message that lets you know that your submission has been received and please wait, it's pending approval. So that's pretty much the whole system. And I mean, just the ease of use of it and how the mapping really interacts with the data has just made this really a pleasure to work with. And I'm excited that we've rolled this out, and the cemetery commission and Rusty are all excited as well. And so hopefully you guys are excited as well with it.
Really good. Thank you, David. It's a great presentation. Seems like it does. The system is really what we need and does everything that we were lacking. And as we've discussed earlier today, forward thinking and forward looking. Bob?
Well, my question was going to be, what did Rusty and the cemetery commission think about it? Because if you can please those guys, then you're not on the right path.
Good.
Well, before we went live, I met with the cemetery commission. I did basically a similar presentation, showed them a demo, and they couldn't have been happier.
Carol, she support this, right? Carol,
yes.
Jonathan, she's good.
Yes, very much so. So I wouldn't do it without the cemetery commission approval and support. And they had actually, surprisingly been asking for this for quite a while. I think everybody was aware, how antiquated the software was, and I think this will really assist Rusty in his day-to-day operations. And this is again, I'm going to go back to the support. The support makes me feel as though Rusty would be in very good hands if say I stepped out and a bus hit me. My last thought would be Rusty will have it.
So I think as you went through it, I thought the hands-on approach, the support that you had talked about was really valuable. Just with more companies would spend some time on that particular aspect of implementation because it's critical.
Yeah.
And I'm right? This was falling over dead, right? It was no longer supported.
No. I think the company had long ceased operations. So this was, this was, we were crossing our fingers, and I think we had, what's the old saying? Would whistled by the graveyard.
Yeah.
Well played. Very,
So-
very
so-
well played, David. You get extra points for that.
The other historical point is when I used Fox Pro, it was the new thing on the block. It literally was.
Wow.
And we were using it to support a burgeoning growth of businesses in the Treasury Department, swaps and caps and collars and all that kind of stuff. And we used it as our base. And we got into a lot of trouble because the institutional systems group was not happy.
I mean,
but it worked for what we used it for.
I mean, it is a a lot of those programs from back then, as were very stable, very rock solid. However, there was quickly, I think everybody found out there's a limitation to them. And
Well, 30 years ago, there wasn't, Dave.
Right.
It was really cool.
Right.
Yeah. 30 years ago, the Walkman was cool, Bob.
We're running billions of dollars of swap business on this.
I mean, yeah.
30 years ago. That was before Blockbuster Video went out of business.
Yeah, you still could go and return your videos back then.
Right.
Good. Yes.
David
David.
was only 6.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, David.
Not even, probably.
I may surprise you.
No, no surprises. David, thank you. Bob, there's no motion. That's just a review of the software and an update from Dave and as you said, from the Cemetery Commission. So, David, thank you for that. And on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, please thank Rusty, and for the time and energy and all the other folks that put into this. We really appreciate it. Bob, anything you want to add in closing on this item?
No, I'm assuming we're up and running, right?
Yep, we're up, we're live.
And how long have we been running?
We went first week of this month. Very first week we went live, I believe, on Thursday.
Okay.
So that was.
Keep
I'd
us
have to
in the
look at
loop,
the calendar. I will.
As we go along here.
I will, and I'd like
Especially
to.
interested in the training support.
I'll keep you up to date on that, and I'd like to echo what John said about Rusty and all the time and energy he expended. I mean, he's a department of one. I feel his pain. So
very important one.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was he really worked very hard on this, and I mean, what a source of knowledge about Dover Highland Cemetery.
Yes.
Rusty really knows that whole the whole cemetery like the back of his hand.
Well, yeah, no, we have some people in town who have thrived on the history, and you hear it, when we have historical commission.
Yes.
Came by, I mean, the history of this town is really rich.
No, it's
I don't mean
quite,
monetarily. I mean,
yeah,
It really is.
it's amazing.
Well,
Thank
Dave,
you, Dave.
well done. Thank you.
my pleasure. Thank you very much.
We're going to move to item number 7, the Board of Selectmen updates. A few things to know this evening. First and foremost, I want to say a special thanks to Carol Lisbon and the recycling and the cleanup committee. This year, so for the entire month, the cleanup is ongoing. And when speaking to Carol recently, her group completely sold out, if you will, the number of people that signed up to clean up streets. So every street, and for the street that had more than one, like Farm and Dedham, Hartford, Walpole, there were several people that signed up to help clean up those streets. So for the month, it's an ongoing endeavor. I do Haven, I do Church Street in my area, and I can tell you that there are other citizens here in town and neighbors of mine that are doing it on a weekly basis and some on a daily basis. So it's a great effort. Please continue it, and please go to the recycling to the transfer station for trash bags if you are inclined to do it. And again, just a special thanks to Carol, to all the members of the staff who have provided their assistance in moving this forward. It's become a really cool thing for the entire month of April. We just want you to continue doing it and continue to take pride in how clean the town looks. So that's just again, a thank you to Carol and that committee. From a Selectmen's update, I also attended the Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, and Board of Health joint meeting on Monday. Lively discussion about some of the warrant articles and some of the upcoming issues that the overlay district, as we heard earlier this evening in the transfer of liquor license, the Planning Board through Courtney is really looking at all of our bylaws that are going to allow us to actually address some of these items that have come up in the Planning Board. You're going to hear more and more about that between now and town meeting, as the Planning Board has several warrant articles. So we want to encourage everyone to please read the town warrant. Please pay attention to the items that are coming before you for the Planning Board and for the town warrant this at town meeting this spring.
John,
Yes.
Is there a place where people can access the summary data, the summary information?
Yes. So Courtney has posted it on website. There's a summary of the warrants on the Planning Board site, and there's a summary of the warrants on the town website. So thank you for that, Bob. Thanks for that.
So John, the other thing, I think that Janet is going to host I don't know if it's a luncheon or a coffee with the town administrator, and I think that's another opportunity Janet pointed out to sort of learn about the warrants and to be able to ask questions. So there's a couple of efforts going on to try to get the word out to people where they can find the information so they can come to the town meeting and be informed. Because I've also heard that there's a lot of misinformation about town. So everything we can do to help people, to point them to the right sources of information, prove its merit at town meeting.
Totally agree. Janet, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Thank you, John. And thank you, Bob, for bringing that up. The Council on Aging is hosting a talk with the town administrator, which is going to be next Thursday on the 21st at 10:30. And we are going to have it as a hybrid program. So it will be in person in the Great Hall as well as virtually on Zoom. So that way people can connect with Chris as he reviews the warrant articles and ask questions and hopefully learn more about what's going to be at town meeting.
That's great. Next Thursday, 10:30 in the Great Hall.
In the Great Hall or on Zoom. If you're not able to attend, you can still connect and get that information.
Wonderful. Janet, don't go away because we're going to come back to you in about 30 seconds with good news and good reports and things to make you smile. And Bob, that's it for me in terms of updates, Board of Selectmen updates. And anything you'd like to add before we look at the upcoming agenda?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, it's just quick. You know, the construction documents went out, we're waiting for bids to come back. And that's just sort of a wait and see process. I haven't gotten any real updates. I mean, we saw Ford send something out earlier in the week that sort of said status is, you know, sort of green, and we're just waiting. So that's all there is there. And then I know there's been some discussion about how we're going to set up town meeting. I know that Felicia and I think Jim and the Board of Health are working to make sure that as we go forward, the environment that we hold the meeting in is as risk-free as we can make it. So those discussions are ongoing. I think we're about 2 weeks away now or something?
Yeah. Did you see the line?
So work is progressing.
Did you see the line of contractors outside of the Carroll Center on Wednesday?
No. I was engaged at Maplegate Country Club.
The newly groomed,
God, unfortunately.
the newly groomed Maplegate Country Club. Yeah, so there was, just real quick on that, there was a walkthrough for contractors and estimators on Wednesday, and it was, there was probably 25 or 30 people outside of Carroll on at 10 o'clock on Wednesday.
I was pounding my head into a tree at that time.
The town administrator update. Kate, is that your domain this evening?
It certainly is, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John. I just wanted to thank everyone. It's been a very tough week for the townhouse and for staff and for volunteers and everyone that knew Scott. So I'd just like to thank everyone for their well wishes. I know Nicole feels it. I know Mark and Beth at Park and Rec feel it. Yes, it's definitely, it will be a hard few weeks, but we're going to do everything we can to support Nicole and Mark and Beth. So thank you. And I also would like to add that the town report is now available. There's hard copies at the townhouse, and it is now available to download on the website. So just go to the homepage, there's a news item there, click on it, and the town report committee, again, they pull it off every year. It's so much work, and they do such a good job, and this year isn't any different. So
Yeah. Hey, Kate, I do want to say thank you for the town report and that item, and thank you for bringing this up. And I think I failed to mention with regards to Scott, his services, and for Nicole and the family, Tuesday at Eaton in Needham, correct?
yes, starting at 4 p.m.
4 p.m. So this coming Tuesday in Needham at Eaton Funeral Home, 4 p.m. For his services. So so thank you for that, Kate, and thanks for mentioning that. So just to follow up with regards to the town report, Kate, I played the part of Professor Jeffries at the high school on Wednesday to civics and local government for the seniors, and the town report was our tool. That was what we talked about. That was our item of discussion for a riveting morning with Professor Jeffries. But it's amazing to me how the kids actually it resonates. There are things that they find interesting in it, and when we talk about it, and it's really cool. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, Kathy Bell does a spectacular job on that town report, and good shout out to Kathy. She was last Carol meeting. She said it was like coming up right up to the deadline, and she was really worried a little bit about making sure she did it, and sounds like that was well done. So. Excellent.
Kate, I spoke with Chris with regards to the water and the scope services and the grant that Denise Garlick's office has secured. Is that something that we can publicly acknowledge, or is that yet to be official?
I believe we can publicly acknowledge that, John.
Okay, so thank you. Always nice to have permission before you actually say something, then realize, oh, we didn't get the money. No. So there's $75,000 that is been earmarked through Denise, through the state, for the town of Dover, for the scope of services project with essentially water resources. So
the water consultant, John?
Yes. Yeah. So Bob, that $75,000 will essentially go for what we approved, and what we approved 3 months ago now, right?
Yeah, a couple months back.
Yeah. So Kate, I didn't want to steal your thunder, but I wanted to make sure that we let everybody know that that's in the process. So anything else?
That is it.
Fabulous job. Very well done. It's good to be in charge, right, Kate?
It's working out, and look at the time, Dave, again,
Just going right through it. So we're going to move to the next item, which is the consent agenda. And for that, I'm glad Janet Claypool is still with us, because we are accepting the expanded Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs Council on Aging formula grant in the amount of $13,752 for fiscal year 22. And we're going to accept $3,000 gift to the Council on Aging from the Friends of the Council on Aging. And Janet, would you like to speak to that, to either of those two?
Sure. Well, we're very appreciative of both funders for the monies that they're going to share with the town of Dover and our seniors. The formula grant is something that is an annual grant that we received from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, and it's to promote, enhance, and support the well-being of our seniors. So these funds are used for an assortment of things, for programs, for some staff needs, to fund some of our staff positions, and also help us provide the services that we need by expanding our municipal budget. The grant is based on the population, on the federal census numbers, and then there is it's by a rate per elder across the state. So the governor had recommended and the legislature approved at $12 an elder, which is the same as the year before, which is awesome because we had heard we may get a budget cut, so we were pleased that we did not receive one. What's different about this grant, as we usually see by this time, is that the census numbers in 2010 are the ones that are being used. The 2020 census numbers have not been approved by the state to pull into this new formula grant. So hopefully they will get that done, so that would be used for the next fiscal year 23. And that would be an additional, I think it's an additional 300 people that are 60 and over that the 2020 federal census numbers captured. There is concern from the MCOA that because the census they did not capture all the numbers of the people in town, or because of COVID, because the census was really difficult to collect from some people. They couldn't have people go out and walking door to door to collect unreturned questionnaires. So I think for as far as I know, those numbers are not going to be adjusted. So we will move forward. We're grateful for the funds that we have.
That's great.
The $3,000 is from the Friends of the Council on Aging. They are an organization, a nonprofit that helps fund programs and services to enhance the well-being of Dover seniors. And so these funds will again be used for programs and trips and the type of programs, so that we aren't going back for municipal funds for them. We're able to use these funds raised by the Friends.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a great report. Just two things to add to the consent agenda is the agreement between Dover and GM Framingham that I spoke to earlier with regards to processing of mattresses from the transfer station is one item, and approval of a one-day special liquor license for May 7th, 2022. And Bob, would you like to add anything before we make the motions for this?
No, I think you got it, John.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Springer.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Janet, thank you again
You're welcome. Thank you.
for this. So just going through the liquor license, Mona will get signatures for you and everything else that needs to be done on their behalf. And the next item on the agenda this evening is a motion to adjourn to executive session, which we are not going to do because we don't have Miss Hunter with us this evening. So we are going to reschedule the executive session for an upcoming meeting. Mona, I believe Robin is going to get back to you on that in terms of what date. We did not add it to the upcoming agenda because I don't think we know the exact date as of right now. Bob, is that your understanding?
We were circulating, looking for a date to get together. And I thought it was April 20th, but I don't know if that's correct. Mona, is that correct?
21st.
There was some discussion about that date or having it at a regularly scheduled meeting, but I will work with Robin to work on a date.
Okay, so that will either be done as a sort of a special meeting or will be tacked on to the, but the next one is the moderators meeting. So that tends to be long, right?
That's correct.
So if Robin asks, or if this comes up, I prefer to do it not on the 28th. And then I think that would be too late. So it might make good sense to try to get it in next week.
Okay.
John, do you agree?
Yeah, the moderators meeting is going to be very long because we're going to have conversations about the timing, the conversation, if there's any issues that citizens are going to bring up with regards, just in general, to the meeting, the indoor, the sort of the protocol of the meeting. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion that evening, but I would like to do it. Obviously, we'd like to do it when Robin is here because that's just it's imperative that we have.
She's been running point.
She's running point on this particular item. That's going to be an important part of the whole of this particular negotiation. So Kate, in keeping with you being the boss, the meeting is 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
I mean,
Well, wait a minute.
Dave and I have a really good record, I just want to say.
The last item, the consent agenda, was targeted at 7:55. We're at 7:50. 5 minutes.
No, but
I'll take it.
We
are ready for adjournment, Bob.
And move right along. It was I wonder how come we moved it, someone was missing. We didn't
So strange. Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine.
Dave. It might be Dave, I don't know.
Well,
All right, Mr. Chair.
I am going to thank everyone for their attendance. I'm going to remind everyone that tomorrow is Good Friday, Passover Saturday, and Easter on Sunday, and wish everyone, in light of this tragedy, in the townhouse last week, to just reflect and be thankful on all the things that we have and all the good things, this weekend, and a lot of crazy things going on in this world, and let's just be thankful and thank everybody around you. So with that, anything you'd like to add to that, Bob?
Value your family.
Amen. I'm going to ask for a motion. I'm going to offer a motion to adjourn. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Springer.
Good night, everyone, and thank you very much. Thanks for a great week. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Happy Easter.
Nice job. Happy Easter. Enjoy the nice
Thank you.
weather.
Good
It's
night.
coming our way.
Thank you.